Well, hey there, children over 30. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I guess it's been a while since I just sat in front of the camera and ranted about random things. I was gonna go skate today, but I took a couple pretty bad falls on Friday, I think. And nobody tells you that, like, when you're working on moves and stuff, like, the falls are real. Going around, like, at speed and then messing up on a move and catching an edge weird and falling, like, sideways with a good amount of trajectory. And that shit's real. Like, it hurts. My shoulder's all messed up. My hip hurts a little bit. Yeah, it sucks. Anyway, so I didn't get to go skating today, but I wanted to do something skating related. And yeah, I got some stuff on my mind. It's been a while since I talked to you guys, so here we go. So the first thing would be that Brock and I got picked up by a company called Compass. Compass is a wheel company based out of Durham, North Carolina. Um, they have pre-orders happening right now for the 72 and 100 millimeter wheels. So if you want to check out skateeverywhere.com or Roller Warehouse, Intuition, Oak City, I think those are the three shops that are carrying them. But yeah, I think they're getting shipped out in February. And knowing the guy that's behind the company, like, it's gonna be some good quality stuff. Like, I'm super excited about it. I've known the dude for a while. He's just super legit. I mean, I love him, and he cares so much about skating, and he's so positive, and he works so hard, despite everything else going on in his life. And he just really loves skating and skaters and wants to put good stuff out there for us to have, and that's a good dude. I'm really excited to see kind of where things go in the future with that. Because I've got some little ideas about some tech and stuff that would be cool. Stuff that's not currently out there. I mean, big wheeling. I hate to say that it's new because it's not. But kind of the way that people are doing it now, I mean, it kind of is in a way. Like, we're still kind of figuring out what all we can do. What the requirements are, tech wise for those kinds of things, which is interesting that rollerblading as a discipline learned how to do tricks before it really learned how to skate. You know what I'm saying? Like, our canon of grinds came on like so fast, and it's so deep, and there's like 17,000 different grinds that you can do on rollerblades. But as far as actual skating maneuvers, like, not in its infancy, but also not as developed as our grinding vocabulary. So I'm excited. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was something that I think a lot of rollerbladers are probably tired of hearing. Figure skating. I don't know if this is really something that gets talked about much in that community. It's actually, I mean, if you're a rollerblader, which most of my subscribers are, it's not as big as you think it is. Like, yes, it's an Olympic sport. Yes, you will find figure skaters in every city. You'll probably find more figure skaters than rollerbladers in every city, but it's not a huge market by any means. It's not like football. It's not even like hockey. But the thing that I'm trying to get at is the whole being an ambassador for your sport or representative. And I don't mean that necessarily in this instance, though I think it's important. I don't mean it like being the nicest, most genuine person that happens to be on skates, and just like making friends with everybody and, all that stuff. But rather skating in public and being visible. So if you're a rollerblader, this means like really getting out, where people are and doing stuff, and maybe being this 8-year-old kid's first glimpse into that kind of thing. Like, maybe he's never seen somebody do a handrail before, and then you just do one, and then he's bugging his parents for the next like 6 months about buying him rollerblades, because he wants to he's inspired by that kind of thing. And I think, especially because a lot of us are getting older, it's very easy to find secluded street spots or, go to a skate park when nobody else is there. I think we have this sort of spidey sense about like when school is and is not in session, because we know, like, if it's a holiday or something, like, the skate park's going to be packed and there's going to be a million kids on scooters, and like, we don't want to deal with that. And, street skating and stuff. Yeah, if you're a child over 30, you don't want to get chased around by a security guard. Like that's, at least I don't. Like, that's not where I picture my life as a 30-year-old or a 31-year-old or a 32-year-old, any of that stuff. It's just, it's not something that a lot of us want for ourselves. But at the same time, going back to that point about visibility and stuff like that, you have to get out there and you have to like let people see you do cool things on skates. I mean, some people are going to see it and immediately be drawn to it, but for a lot of other people, it's like that song on the radio that the first time you hear it, you're like, okay, whatever, maybe you even don't like it a little bit, and then 6 months later, after hearing it 7 times a day every day, you're like, man, this is my jam, and it's like your ringtone when your mom calls, or whatever the case may be. I think it's a little bit easier for those of us on big wheels and stuff. I mean, Cityblades, like, that's what our style is kind of designed around. Skate like you're going somewhere, but do it really stylishly. That's kind of the goal. For figure skating, and people that, live at the rink more or less, I think this comes down to skating on public session more often. And I know that going on freestyle time or ticket ice time, or whatever they call it at your rink, is just great. Like, if you can get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and nobody's there, and you can put on whatever music you want and there's nobody in your way, and you don't have to worry about anything. It's the most like selfishly gratifying experience. Like, it's so much fun. But at the same time, it's the same kind of issue where all those people that are going to public skating, like, they're not gonna see you skate. That 8-year-old kid, maybe he'll see some kids on hockey skates like zipping around and be like, oh, that's cool, and then he goes and starts playing hockey. If you're out there like owning edges and just like completely dominating the space and skating beautifully, maybe he'll pick up figure skating instead of hockey. Maybe hockey doesn't interest him, and figure skating does. But the point is, the more you're out there, the more you're visible, the more people see you, regardless of your level, even if you're just starting out, but you can at least do some things that the absolute beginner person can't do. Get out there and be seen, because you never know who's watching you. You never know what impact you're going to have on somebody's life. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in this little random rant thing is, I think I've decided that the Naomi Grigg era of slalom, or at least what I consider to be that, really when she was at the top of the game, is probably my favorite. And by my favorite, I mean I find it to be the most aesthetically pleasing. And I think the big difference between that era of slalom and the current one is the prevalence of like toe wheeling and heel wheeling and 1-foot stuff in general. That stuff is really, really big right now, and for something that has like a technical grade, I mean, if you're going to be successful in slalom now, that has to be part of your vocabulary. Problem is, in my opinion, a lot of that stuff looks like shit. And I don't want to post videos of people doing it and say, look, this is what I'm talking about, because I'm not talking down to anybody or, anything like that. But there's just a certain flow that's not there in the current era of slalom that I feel like used to be. And it may come down to just the way that the sport was organized to begin with. I mean, when you think about the origins and stuff like that, the 2-foot flow stuff was the first stuff to come along. And I think that had a lot of implications on, not only the way that it's supposed to be presented and, whatnot, but also things like, the distance of the cones and, the footprint, the size of the pattern, a lot of the footworky type of stuff, whether it's figure skating or, artistic, whatever, slalom. There's kind of a pattern that you follow. It's like an S pattern. And for figure skating, which is, primarily like 1-foot flow, that's what it's really, really good at. That pattern's pretty big. If you caught the video Powerpuff Twirls, Powerpuff Girls, that me and Brock just posted a little bit ago, you can kind of see that, it's this big, like, continuous S pattern. He's never on a neutral edge. It's always, like, inside or outside, 1 foot. Big S, just, carving up the dickens. And, when you have cones that are spaced pretty close together. And I know like at competitions, they'll have different rows that are spaced different, but big patterns with big S curves and, circle skating and stuff like that, they don't fit that format. Like the cones are just not conducive to that sort of skating. They're very conducive to 2-foot maneuvers because you can turn a lot faster. It's a lot more stable. You can kind of look down at your feet and be a little bit more sure of yourself. Just aesthetically, it comes off as more refined and controlled, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas new school, and tech is kind of helping out with this. They have those big 3-wheel frames that make toe wheeling easier and stuff like that. But it's always like this kind of Frankenstein, oh, shit, and kind of like, stopping intermittently where you're trying to like 1-foot wheel around these cones. And it's just not pretty, And I'm really glad that stuff exists. And I understand that as a sport, it has to progress, to some degree and in a certain direction. And that's kind of the way that it's going right now. And it's great to have all that stuff. I'm really glad that people are pushing the boundaries. For me personally, and this is just me spouting my opinion unsolicited, it doesn't look as good as it used to. I think the real bread and butter, as somebody who doesn't aspire to pursue slalom, to a competitive degree or whatever, but maybe thinks it's kind of cool and would like to take some of the things from that and incorporate it into your own type of thing, the 2-foot flow is where it's at. I don't know of another style of skating that has 2-foot flow as good as slalom. Like they've just got it figured out, and they've got it figured out so well that the freestyle ice skating people that are doing, the hockey skates, it's like ice, but they're on hockey skates, but they're figure skating, but they're not really. I think like half of their vocabulary seems to be just like, 2-foot slalom moves. And that discipline, I think, is relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, I feel that while the sport may be progressing, that's still the stuff that's inspiring people. That's the stuff that people want to apply to their own skating. And yeah, it's my favorite. So I guess that's about it. Turned out to be kind of a short video for me. Usually I talk for like 17 hours. So we got some cool stuff coming out soonish. Duh. I mean, everybody says that, like, subscribe, do all those things. Yeah. Take care.